recently saw several media outlets covering a story of the Pentagon's first chief software officer, who just resigned. In an interview discussing cybersecurity and AI development, he said the US has, quote, no competing fighting chance against China in 15 to 20 years. Right now, it's already a done deal. It's already over in my opinion, end quote. And we hear stories in the news non-stop about cyber operations and hacking allegedly carried out by China on the US. And leaked cables revealed that nearly every CIA operation in China was blown, resulting in almost every source being either arrested or killed. And it was said that China was able to obtain this information through cyber espionage. We also see stories how China has hacked data on virtually every single US military platform, like the F-35 for example. So, is it true? Everything relies on the internet these days, from CIA communications to control of the US electrical grid. Has the US already lost the war? And this video topic goes right along with our sponsor, NordVPN. A VPN helps keep you safe and anonymous online. But what does that actually mean? Well, here's one frightening example. If you're on a public network, there are many easy-to-use tools that can identify anything and everything you are doing. Here, for example, I'm not connected to a VPN, and if I go to a website, say nordvpn.com, that tool knows. I can do a search here and see it. However, if I connect to Nord and go back and reload that website, even open additional pages, now that tool has no idea what I'm doing online. All that traffic is encrypted. This is just one of the many features NordVPN offers to help protect you while online. NordVPN has won multiple awards for their service and is always highly recommended by tech experts. And right now they're having their Black Friday deal. Go to nordvpn.com/covert, get a 2-year plan, you'll get an additional month for free and with a huge discount. 2 years of cybersecurity for only $3.16 a month. And as always, they have their 30-day money-back guarantee. So again, NordVPN. First, right off the bat, as to whether the US is losing to China in cyber warfare, we don't honestly know. All this stuff is obviously classified. There's even articles out there saying the US has a clear superiority over China in cyber. But there is enough public information, leaks, hints and talks given by former CIA and NSA employees, and a basic knowledge of computer hacking to make a highly educated guess. First, this former Pentagon official specifically stated cybersecurity, which is defense. Defense is by far much more difficult than offense. A hacker gets to pick the time and place to attack. They can take their time and look for weaknesses, and all they need is one weak link. That's it. Whereas cyber defense has to protect everything, all the time. All of that needs to be guarded and secure 24/7 without a single slip-up. And that's not a fun job, which is a major problem in the US. Most people going into the cyber industry want to get into those offensive jobs, hacking into systems of other countries, or even as red team penetration testers, who are hired to attempt to hack into companies' own systems to test their defenses and discover weaknesses. That's much more appealing than just sitting in a room somewhere, just monitoring network traffic, making sure all the software is updated, looking for any threats, and responding to incidents. That's just not very sexy. But the problem is that there is a much greater need for defense than offense, roughly a ratio of 10 to 1. One thing China greatly benefits from is how diverse the US is. There is a large population of virtually every ethnic group in the world in the US, so it's easier for spies to blend in. Whereas an American walking into a defense contractor in China would instantly raise suspicion. And honestly, that's how most hacks happen. It's not like in the movies. 99% of all hacks happen through something called social engineering, which is tricking or conning someone into giving you access to information. Zero-day attacks, which are flaws found in software or hardware that no one has come up with a security patch for yet, and hacking into systems remotely, all the crazy, frantic coding and stuff you see in the movies and TV, is extremely rare. Neil Bridges, a former hacker for the NSA, said when he was there, they only had 12 zero-days. That's it. And those were locked up behind multiple vaults. They are just far too rare and valuable to use on anything but the most important operations. Even things like the SolarWinds hack that got a ton of attention back in December 2020, that was described as the worst cyber espionage incident ever suffered by the US, didn't use any zero-days. It's almost all social engineering. To be clear, the two are not mutually exclusive. You could social engineer your way into a network, then use further zero-day exploits to gain access into other systems and networks, which is what happened with Stuxnet, for example. But it's incredible how easy it is to gain access to systems. It's simple stuff like bribing an employee, or paying someone in housekeeping at a hotel to plug in a USB into a government official's laptop real quick. It's crazy how simple things like this work. A talk I attended with David Kennedy, another cybersecurity expert, he talked about how he noticed employees always went to a nearby cafe for lunch. So he went there, got close enough to scan and clone their RFID badge, used it to get by security, walked up to an empty desk with a computer, plugged in an innocent-looking USB device, and had remote access to everything for the rest of the test. It was never discovered. And stuff like this is how most of the major hacks occur, through gaining physical access. Once you have access, the first thing you need to do is create redundancy. You spread out and install several other backdoors that you can access through. That way, even if something like that USB device is discovered and removed, you are still in. This is what makes things like that SolarWinds attack so bad. Even once they identify and fix the way the hacker got in, they have to go through every single device, computer, server, every plug, every cord, everything to fully remove the hacker's access. Sometimes it's easier just to simply throw it all out and buy all new computers. After that, it's a matter of mapping the network, seeing what devices are connected to it, and then hacking into those as well by doing things like looking for outdated, unpatched software, etc., which is much easier to do once you already have access to the network. Then you can carry out whatever your objective is. It might be to quickly steal sensitive data, or it might be doing nothing for days, weeks, even months, just waiting and looking for very specific criteria. Stuxnet, for example, had spread and infected tens of thousands of computers across the world, but it did nothing. It only activated when it found very specific PLCs, or programmable logic controllers, which in this case were used by Iran's nuclear program. And this is something we've seen many times. US offensive cyber operations are extremely precise and targeted, and they are really good at it too. The leaks from Edward Snowden revealed that the NSA's tailored access operations has created templates to hack into nearly every commonly used piece of hardware and software. They basically just need to click a button. China, on the other hand, for all their advancements, is still behind the US in many ways in terms of technology and experience with that technology. So they typically go after everything, from US government officials to defense contractors, where they can steal data on new weapon systems and use it to create their own version, saving them billions of dollars in research and development costs. The US, being ahead in many ways still, doesn't really need to do this. They might attempt to break in and gain data on China's new aircraft carrier, for example, to learn how it works so they can develop countermeasures, but not necessarily to save themselves on any R&D. In the future, that might change if and when China pulls ahead. China's other major benefit is that a lot of technology we use is built there. Also, a lot of software and code is written in China. It's just so much cheaper for companies to hire developers to write the code in China. Without doing so, these US companies just can't compete. This gives China access to potentially do things like write in backdoors or implant other malicious code. Now, most of this has been about cyber espionage, but it also applies to cyber warfare in many ways too. We see stories how Russia and China are infiltrating and hacking the US power grid, and ex-CIA and NSA employees have hinted that the US does the same thing to them. A cyber war would get real ugly real fast. If a war ever broke out between the US and China or Russia, the cyber war itself could be more dangerous than even a nuclear war. Knocking out things like power, the internet, water, and others for even just a few days would disrupt nearly every aspect of civilian life, from things like food supplies, as logistics all rely on internet communications, to even pumping water. So, has the US lost, or at least way behind? That depends. On defense, or cybersecurity? Probably. China is not as open of a society as the US. It's virtually impossible to become a Chinese citizen, so almost everyone there is the same ethnicity, making it difficult for an American to blend in. Also, having the government more involved in their society enables them to have much greater control over things like access to information, which makes it easier to defend. However, in the long run, having a closed society potentially hurts you. With people having less access to information, there's less people that can come up with new, innovative solutions to both defense and offense. In terms of offense, we learned some pretty incredible capabilities the US has in the Snowden leaks. It shows the US is really good at thinking outside the box and coming up with crazy ways to gain access. However, that event also shook up things politically, creating a lot of changes in what agencies like the NSA is allowed to do, which possibly hurt offensive capabilities. But one thing is for sure, that let's hope it never comes to a real cyber war.